You know exactly what needs to be done. You have the intellectual capacity, the plan is laid out, and often you even have the necessary resources. However, if we look at your life today and compare it to 12 months ago, the change is minimal, almost imperceptible. And if you haven't evolved as much as you should have and deserve to, much of this can be explained by the phenomenon of self-sabotage. But you don't always prefer to face the biological reality of the problem, and that is not entirely your fault. The truth is, your brain isn't failing. On the contrary, it's functioning perfectly well. It was designed to ensure your survival, not your prosperity. To the most primitive part of your mind, success, exposure, and a change in status aren't prizes, they are threats. They are unnecessary risks that consume energy and expose you to the judgment of the tribe. What you call self-sabotage is actually an extremely sophisticated and efficient defense mechanism, operating in the shadows of your subconscious to keep you exactly where you are, safe, predictable, and stagnant. Maybe this sounds like a punch in the gut, but you need to hear it. Your intelligence is being used against you. Smart people are the best at rationalizing their own chains. They create complex narratives to justify why they didn't finish that project, why they didn't take that promotion, or why they stay in relationships that drain their energy. You have become a master at explaining your own failure, and that skill is the very prison bars you've built around yourself. In this video, we are going to dissect the 7 invisible mental patterns of people who self-sabotage. We're not going to talk about positive thinking or willpower. We're going to talk about neurobiology and behavior. We are going to expose the hidden architecture that makes you retreat moments before victory. Since you are watching this video, I assume you have already decided to stop ignoring the problem. But what comes next might completely change your view of who you are. The feeling you will have is not guilt, but recognition. You will finally understand why your life feels like a high-performance car driving with the handbrake pulled up. Prepare yourself. What we are about to analyze are the codes your brain uses to keep you in the comfort zone, which is nothing more than a zone of familiar discomfort. Before we continue, I kindly ask you to subscribe to the channel and like the video. If by the end you don't like it, you can simply unlike it, deal? Let us start by dissecting the first and perhaps the most insidious of the patterns, the Almosen syndrome, which is the bastard child of perfectionism and procrastination. Intelligent people tend to fall into this trap because they have fertile imaginations. You can visualize the finished project perfect, grandiose. But this idealized vision becomes the enemy of actual execution. Your brain, addicted to the dopamine of idealization, freezes in the face of the possibility of delivering something mediocre. The pattern here is binary. It's either excellent or it doesn't exist. And since excellence requires a messy, imperfect learning process, you choose not to do it. The fear isn't of failing. It's of doing something that shatters the self-image of the capable person you sustain. The cure for this requires pragmatic brutality. Adopt the rule that done is better than perfect. Perfectionism is just insecurity in a tuxedo. Focus on mediocre consistency. An imperfect project that is published is worth infinitely more than a masterpiece that only exists in your head. This leads us directly to the second mental pattern, destructive internal dialogue. Realize that this isn't just negative thinking, it is a preemptive defense strategy. When you tell yourself, I can't do this, or I'm not good enough, your brain is trying to protect you from potential social rejection. If you reject yourself first, the world's rejection hurts less. It's an emotional vaccine, but the side effect is paralysis. This severe self-criticism acts as a glass ceiling. You hurt yourself before others have the chance to do it. To break this, don't try positive thinking that is useless against consolidated neural pathways. Practice clinical detachment. Identify the thought, name it, and replace it with a neutral, realistic statement. Remove the emotional weight. Treat the voice in your head not as absolute truth, but as an outdated algorithm trying to protect you from dangers that no longer exist. Now we need to talk about the third mental pattern, which is the comfort zone as a prison. The term comfort zone is misunderstood. It's not a place where you are happy. It's a place where you are familiar with suffering. The human brain prioritizes predictability over happiness. To your amygdala, success brings uncertainty, new responsibilities, and new risks. The mind prefers the familiar pain of stagnation over the risk of the unknown. You sabotage growth opportunities because, biologically, growth sounds like danger. The mental restructuring here is counterintuitive. You need to train your brain to associate safety with movement, not with stillness. Start exposing yourself to small, controlled discomforts. Show your nervous system that surviving discomfort is possible. Without this empirical proof, your mind will keep pulling the handbrake every time you accelerate toward a new phase of life. And it is exactly when you start to feel this discomfort that the fourth pattern emerges: denial and escapism. Observe your behavior. When an important goal gets close or a deadline tightens, what do? You don't work harder. You seek relief. Social media, food, porn, alcohol, or excessive sleep. This isn't a lack of character, it is flawed emotional regulation. The anxiety of achievement generates a cortisol spike, and your brain desperately seeks a quick source of dopamine to compensate. It is an escape mechanism. You are trading your future for 5 minutes of chemical relief. To change, you need to interrupt the pattern in the act. Recognize the trigger. When you feel the urge to run, stop. Breathe. Force yourself to stay in the discomfort for 5 minutes. By not running away, you teach your brain that anxiety won't kill you, breaking the cycle of distraction dependency. Perhaps the saddest pattern in high-potential people is the fifth: imposter syndrome and the lack of deservingness. You sabotage your results because, deep down, your self-image does not match the success you are about to achieve. It's a matter of your financial and social thermostat. If you see yourself as someone who struggles, success sounds like an anomaly that needs to be corrected. You act against your own interests unconsciously to return to the temperature you consider normal for you. The change here is one of identity, not ability. Change the narrative from "I am a self-saboteur" to "I learned to react this way, but I can change." Deservingness isn't something you earn. It's something you build by keeping promises made to yourself. Celebrate small victories not out of vanity, but to re-educate your mind and prove that this new reality is your new normal. But the list wouldn't be complete without talking about the sixth mental pattern, which is analysis paralysis. This is the classic pattern of intelligent people. You use your cognitive capacity to simulate every possible failure scenario before even taking the first step. You study, plan, take courses, read books, and call it preparation. The brutal truth is that overplanning is a sophisticated form of procrastination. Reading about swimming doesn't keep you from drowning. The brain loves simulation because it gives the sensation of progress without the risk of action. The problem is that the real world doesn't reward what you know. It rewards what you do. Knowledge without execution is just mental inventory generating storage costs. The way out is imperfect, rapid action. Stop trying to solve problems you don't have yet. Finally, the seventh invisible pattern is the sunk cost fallacy. You stay in failed careers, relationships, or projects simply because you have already invested a lot of time, money, or energy into them. Your brain hates admitting loss. It prefers to keep digging the hole rather than admit it dug in the wrong place. This keeps you trapped in the past, draining energy that should be used to build the future. Here, your intelligence plays against you, creating logical justifications to maintain the mistake. Change requires coldness. The time invested is already lost. The only question that matters is, if I were starting today, with what I know now, would I choose this path? If the answer is no, maintaining this pattern is pure emotional self-sabotage. Recognizing these 7 patterns is not the end of the process. It is just the beginning of a silent war happening inside your own head. Self-sabotage doesn't magically disappear just because you now know its name. Your brain took years, maybe decades, building these neural highways. It won't abandon them without resistance. What we discussed here wasn't about motivation. Motivation is biological and fleeting. It's made of dopamine spikes that vanish on the first difficult Monday. What you need is vigilance. You need to become a cold observer of your own behaviors. When the urge to procrastinate rises, when the desire to escape to your phone appears, you need the clarity to say, "This isn't me." This is a mechanism, real change, the kind that alters your bank statement and the quality of your days doesn't come from a grand cathartic event. It comes from the monotonous daily ability to do what needs to be done, even when every cell in your body is begging to go back to the comfort of familiar failure. Don't expect it to be easy. Don't expect it to be fast. Your mind will try to convince you to go back to the cave. The difference is that now you know that voice isn't the voice of reason. It is the voice of fear disguised as prudence. The choice, from this second forward, is entirely yours. Continue being a smart hostage of your own biology, or assume manual control of your life. No one is coming to save you from yourself. Now, I kindly ask you to leave a comment saying whether you liked or disliked the content, and why. Your reflection helps other people to also reflect on the topic. Take the opportunity to subscribe to the channel to continue receiving more content like this. See you in the next video.